Hello, Internet. I'm HamsterBomb.
I'm Zach.
And I'm Timothy.
Hey, look, the whole gang's here.
Barely.
And this is HITBOX.
Hey, Clover's not here.
Oh, yeah. She has not joined me on an episode of HITBOX. I don't think. She's been on Playing With Myself a couple times.
And the streams.
She's a great actress.
She is
a wonderful character.
She's
on
actually
your channel.
had lines last time, and she was able to do them.
Dude, I see a bright future on Broadway for her.
Anyway, this episode of HITBOX, not Playing With My... Now I'm all confused here, HITBOX. We wanted to brighten your day, bring some cheery, wonderful thoughts, and talk about the worst games we've ever played in our entire lives.
Oh.
But only say nice things about them.
But then we get to say the bad things, though, right?
Well, we have to explain what the games are, so that's us being kind of stupid. There is too much negativity in the whole discourse of video games in general, even good ones. You know, people seem to lose touch with what's a bad game. We're going to talk about bad games today.
I was going to say, for those of you also watching our Atari Action Hour streams, you'll see some terrible games there, too.
Yeah.
Ooh.
There's some cool ones, but yeah, there's some bad stuff.
But positives.
There was no quality control back then, but even still today, there's a lot of sneaky, crappy garbage. So for the most part, I think all of the games we're going to be talking about are like post-crash. We're not talking about anything that's just completely unplayable.
Right.
You know, a game to be so bad, like there's some games that, you know, you can boot up and say, okay, this is just bad, just turn it off. Because it's not even like fun to like laugh at how bad it is, it's just miserable.
It's the difference between Ride to Hell Retribution versus like Deadly Premonition. There's like just terrible bad, and then there's funny bad.
So
Yeah,
our
like
level
Big
is-
Rigs is a bad game, but it's a hilarious bad game.
Yes.
Yeah, but there are also games that we have on our list that, like, they function way more than Big Rigs does.
Oh, yeah.
But they...
No.
Okay, maybe not.
Big Rigs doesn't work. Anyway, but still, we're not talking about that. We're going to be talking about specific games.
Anything before E.T. situation we're not talking about.
Not on my list, at least.
No, not that far back. So, instead, we're going to be doing our top 5. This is also kind of reveals our least favorite video games ever, and why.
Which is an ongoing list. I mean...
Yeah, there's always... I'm always amazed by new things I play, and I think, like, there's no way that modern games could be that bad.
See, I'm lucky in the sense that
There's no way.
you get to filter them for me, and I only get to play the best.
Yeah, I do. I play like 100
Because I don't
and
have
tell you
as
one.
much. Yeah, I don't have as much time to play. So, you know, if I don't like it, I don't swallow.
If I
okay?
don't love it. It was a Ratatouille joke, not a euphemism. Anyway, we're talking about Vigi games. And so, like, for example, since I've played so many games, I'm not even going to be talking about, like, Pokemon Sword and Shield. Okay,
it's functioning.
like, that's a horrible game. It's a horrible game, but at least it's funny how bad it is.
And it's playable.
And yeah, you can still play it. Like, I can give it to a kid and they can still actually, like, enjoy themselves and play the game.
Oh, yeah.
I hate the game because of my experience with the rest of the series and knowing how bad it is, by comparison. So instead, we're going to be doing 5s at a time. So I'm going to do my number 5. I guess Zach will just go in order this a ways, unless you're just listening to us, in which case I pointed at Zach. You just take my word for it. And then, Kim, you can do your 5, and we'll just, like, keep going 4s all the way to our number 1s. So, my number 5 worst game I've ever played
Hit us.
actually showed up on my licensed games review video. And it is Bug's Life for the Game Boy Color. You've all played this, of course. You all know what I'm talking about. So I have to probably tell you a little bit of backstory. So, like, the point of this is to go through these games and say something nice, even though that's gonna be a struggle. So we had to write these down in advance.
Yes.
Because this whole episode would have been us going, oh, God, it's so bad, but I can't. So just to give you perspective.
I feel like you also need to describe a little bit how you came across playing this awful game.
Oh, so, I mean, well, pretty much the same reason anybody my age would have. Pixar was new. Bug's Life is their second film. It's a visual spectacle when it came out. Like, graphically, like, it's amazing how they were able to render this back in the day. And so the game is really cool, and you imagine, like, oh, if you made a video game about this, it's gotta look great, and of course you got a story there to work with, right? So, Bug's Life on the Game Boy Color is a 2D platformer that kind of changes every once in a while to other things, but it doesn't matter because you're going to die in the platforming part. You're not going to get past that. The game is so... I'm trying to be nice. It's probably the worst 2D platformer I've ever played in my life. I'm going to look at the rest of my list and confirm that, yep, this is the worst 2D platformer I have ever played in my entire life. The reason being that because I have to, for perspective, because you've probably not played this and I don't want you to, the problem is, for some reason, when you jump, and you'll notice this about halfway through the first level, sometimes when you jump, Flick will jump extra high.
Yep.
Like you really meant it, and other times he won't. And you'll have to make certain jumps to leaves, which are your platforms. It's a cute little artist thing. The problem is eventually you'll have to start learning that sometimes you can jump higher, sometimes you can't. The leaves will eventually start springboarding you to jump higher, but even with that, you'll still find yourself jumping over and over and over and over and over and over, just trying to get to one thing, and eventually, like, oh, I pushed the button a little extra hard this time. Is that why I made the jump? I don't know. And then there's enemies on top of this.
Hey. Where's your good thing?
Anyway, it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It's miserable, and you die immediately.
So does this game truly make you feel like an ant?
I don't... You know, I feel like ants are stronger than this.
Oh, okay.
Like, ants can withstand all sorts of... Like, any little thing will kill him instantly. And you have, I think, 3 lives... Basically 3 hits, like Super Mario Brothers, and you're done. And you can barely jump. Now, surprisingly, you can control your jump a little bit, like the direction after you've jumped, which is nice, but it's not nearly enough. Like, they needed to double your height of the jump or something, because the game as it stands is barely functional.
But what are the nice things about this game?
You say plural. We only had to come up with one.
I came up with multiple.
I know you did.
You're insane.
I am insane.
Maybe they are not your least favorite then. That's what I'm coming to the conclusion.
Yeah, maybe.
As you guys have joked, my standards apparently are like rock bottom when it comes to gaming.
So I would say, since the game, the main draw point is the fact that it is based on a visual, glamorous film, where its graphics was the main draw, the actual graphics when transitioning to a Game Boy Color of all things actually looks really nice.
Yeah.
So the way that they have like the cute little animations of the characters, they move very fluid, everything is very clear what things are, except sometimes for the actual level itself of what you need to jump on and what you can't, but that's aside the point. Everything looks very nice. I can identify what everything is pretty clearly, and like it does kind of try to tell the story by like occasionally showing in photos that are compressed to high heaven of the movie and like trying to recreate them on a Game Boy Color, and then with text, like, you know, visual novel your way through the story and then play a level. You're not gonna get that far through it, you're gonna die, but it looked okay. That's not a backhanded compliment, which is breaking the rules. We're not trying to do any backhanded compliments.
I tried.
At least it's not visual diarrhea.
It could have been worse. So, Zach, what's your number 5?
Oh, my number 5 least favorite game. For those of you who actually do enjoy this game, I'm not saying that it's wrong that you think this game is good and you like it. Didn't sit well with me. This is Star Trek Online. Have either of you guys played Star Trek Online?
I've never played a Star Trek game.
Okay, so it's an MMO, it's free to play, and you take control of your, you know, as a starship captain, you know, and you have the ability to go around the galaxy, you know, into Romulan territory, into Federation territory,
This sounds like a golden idea. How can this go wrong?
It's free to play. So
how old is this?
Also came out in 2010.
That's still rather recent.
Is this freemium levels? Is this what we're getting to?
Yeah. The thing is, the questing in this game, which is supposed to be the centerpiece of any MMO, the thing that helps drive you to get through the worlds and areas and stuff, is boring as all get out. Like, it doesn't even try to really hide the fact that it's like, oh, just go here and get me 5 bear butts. Or sorry, space bear butts, because we're in space. Or here, just kill this dude for me. Oh, you killed the dude for me? Here's some credits and a thing to upgrade your ship. Get your haircut. Did you do that? Sweet. Make sure to spend money in the cash shop to get extra haircuts later. Kind of thing.
So it's a do-nothing game.
Yeah.
Did you play No Man's Sky?
I've watched it. I don't really have much of an interest in it.
Oh my god, it was so boring, and it just reminds me of that.
Yeah.
Off topic.
Sorry.
I know.
I'm relating.
I'm gonna be the police here. We gotta stay on track.
Please be the police, yes.
Okay. It should actually get you a whistle.
Get like a dog clicker
an air horn.
Just start snapping at us. Hey,
Nobody listening wants to hear
A little
that.
cat spray bottle.
Yeah.
No, it's like, stop it. People actually like No Man's Sky, even though it sucks.
So, and that's the reason why I love MMOs is the questing, and it didn't really do that for me.
Yeah.
And it just pushes you so quick through everything because it wants you to get to endgame and spend money.
What's a nice thing, though?
I've got a few, actually.
Oh.
So, it has the different gameplay styles of the game really help it stand out. So you have your on-foot missions, which you're going down into like the space stations and planets and doing the quests. However, not only do you have like battles and exploration on foot, you actually can take control of your starship and actually fight and actually get into like sort of like naval battles. And you can tell your ship to like draw power towards, you know, your photon missiles and all that to do more damage.
Yeah.
And, you know, and to recruit stuff. That part I think really helps to break up the monotony of the game.
Which is, so that's kind of backwards. It's almost like the traversal is the fun part, and then the quest that they give you is just
pretty much.
boring.
It's actually really cool space battles. And and the PvP that I've seen for it gets insane. Like, you're seeing people, like, in these giant Federation ships, like, going out to the... Wrong Federation, wrong Empire, but...
Yeah, that's the wrong star.
You got your Empire in my Federation. And also, too, the other thing that really, I think, makes the game worthwhile, it's just fun just to be in the Star Trek universe every so often.
I don't think that counts.
That doesn't
That
count
does
as
not
a
count.
compliment.
Well, but the thing...
It's not like me going, you know what, Bug Life is a great movie.
Well,
it's okay.
I guess what
It's
I'm
not
trying
great.
to say with it is that it's just... It presents the Star Trek universe well enough to where you can actually kind of get absorbed in it. Like, the locations
But I think what's so good about
Star
Star Trek, the series,
Yeah.
is that every single episode they can just sidewind into one little thing that would really work perfectly in a game with a million side quests. And just getting, like, sucked into its stories as deep as, like, The Witcher. So it has so much potential, and you're saying, oh, well...
No, they didn't do it.
Yeah, no, they didn't even do... That's what I would want out of a Star Trek.
I didn't say all the reasons I came up with were good. I'm just saying I came up with multiple reasons.
How about you pick your best, then? We'll just shelve the rest of your pretendo reasons, mister.
Pretendo reasons.
Kim,
Fair
what about
enough.
number 5?
So I'm gonna take you back.
Take
Let
us
me say
back.
okay again. Back to what, like 2007, 2008.
Oh, man, what
My
great years.
favorite game is Rogue Trip 2012. Okay.
Wait,
Okay.
ever? Oh, at
At that
right.
time, it's one of my favorite games.
Man, I could have,
Right?
at that time, handed you like 20 games that you would have said are way better than Rogue Trip.
Well, I'm saying it's one of my favorites. I'm not saying it
Sure.
was like
What you
my
had at the time.
favorite.
On that console, even.
Yeah, was it even like I had played other games that I loved way more than that before.
Sure,
Anyway, love that game.
Yes.
Absolutely adored it. I'm not a Twisted Metal fan. I like Rogue Trip, okay?
Yeah, it's a lot more.
So-
yeah, it's stupid.
It's pretty. It's developed by Single Track.
It's a car combat goofy game.
Right.
We probably should have mentioned that.
Well, I'm gonna get into that when I explain the bad game that I'm about to talk about.
All right.
So, it is made by Single Track and published by GT Interactive.
Okay.
Very kind of small companies you don't really hear a lot about. So, of course, when I find that they have made another game very similar to Road Trip, but it's submarines and it's underwater,
That actually sounds like you would love that. What went wrong?
it's underwater.
Wait, so it's like a 360 or?
And all the
so
drawbacks.
the
that
game
come
is
with
called Critical Depth.
Okay.
It's the exact same team and everything. So you're a submarine and you're going around playing the king of the hill, fighting each other.
You're not getting the tourists to
in the
take photos
submarine.
and.
No, not as much. So that
Aw.
kind of took some of the charm out of it.
Yeah, the drive of Road Trip is either playing against another person and
It
like
was-
shouting while you're fighting over a tourist that you're trying to drive to
It
attractions
was
to take
just saying
photos.
the dumbest things.
Oh,
by
yeah,
the
yeah,
whole
it's-
time. So Critical Depth, that charm got taken out of it.
Aw.
Of course, you're in a submarine, so my biggest thing is 3D. Where am I? Am I up? Am I down? Am I sideways? Where's
Also, I would
the
expect
top?
everything's blue. You get lost in the levels.
Yes, getting lost is very easy to do in that game.
Yeah.
And then, like, the main goal of it, it's more of like a capture the flag situation from what I remembered. But it's my number 5 because
well, that
I
makes
did...
sense. That's basically what Road Trip was, but
Yeah.
it was funnier people.
It's not my least favorite of my least favorites because I did enjoy it from time to time. It was a good idea.
Okay.
So that's where my compliment comes from is I think it was a really creative idea to take something that they knew worked and put it into a different
new dimension.
dimension and adding that different layer onto it. And also the color palettes were beautiful. Like, it had bright, vibrant colors.
So you're saying if this game got remade on the Switch, it could actually play really well?
And if they figured out how to work in that dimension, you know how fighting is in Monster Hunter Tri underwater?
Yeah.
Imagine that, but worse.
Yeah.
So,
because I'm thinking, like, here, Star Fox 64 is around that same time. Like, this should have been a thing where there was already 3D dogfighting.
Yeah.
Like, and it worked great in Star Fox. So if that was the thing where they were just trying to look at another game, it sounds like they didn't play enough. Like a Tears of the Kingdom situation, like you just played your own thing and tried to make a sequel to your own thing and just ignored the rest of the industry.
Was this a PS1 or a PS2 game?
PS1. Well,
so,
anyway,
number 4?
You're number 4.
Okay, number 4. So this is actually a pretty famous worst game ever. If you look up worst games of all time, this one might actually get named. And I'm not saying this because people say it. I'm saying this because I actually played this. It was one of the few games that I think Matt had it, and we were playing it on N64, so we're in the same era here.
I know a game.
My God, that Superman game is so bad. Holy crap, it's terrible. Okay, so Superman 64, you boot this up, and so basically the premise of this is Lex Luthor has trapped Superman somehow in a video game. So it's very meta, and he has to play these levels to escape. And that's it. So there's, like, already we have nothing is actually at stake. We're Superman, so we can't actually die. We can only just be reset back to where we were. And that's the whole game. It's like it's tormenting you. And the worst part is when you fail, Lex Luthor laughs at you. So you're constantly just being made fun of. And the game is on fair levels of hard. It is cruel hard. So you mostly, I'm gonna say like half of the levels, you are free flying with probably the worst 3D controls I've ever played in my life. And you're trying to fly through a bunch of rings quickly. And if you miss one ring or hit one ring out of order, you start over again because your timer is going down. And if you don't make it through all the rings in the exact way that they want you to, you start the whole thing over again. Then when you barely squeeze out a victory, you're either flying through more rings in another level, or you're doing some completely different thing. The game will shift. Sometimes you have to fight a bunch of goons, find a key somewhere.
Hey now.
It goes on. It goes on. But anyway, the reason I mention that is because my positive thing about this is, now I originally reviewed this on Ocarina Hero in 2 parts. The whole first part is just the first level, and the whole second part is just the second level. And I destroyed the cartridge in that video, so I don't remember how this actually happened, where I almost beat Superman 64. But for some reason, I decided only to use that much of footage and just make the episode. But still, my positive thing to say about it is the game is actually such an insane challenge that it's kind of like what we now know as like the Dark Souls applying difficulty, where like it's so hard, you know what you gotta do, but you just can't do it, and you really like, in the game is making fun of you too, and you're like, I'm gonna push through, I'm gonna show you, game, you can't be the boss of me, and you keep going, and you're like, yes, I beat that level, and then hold on, what am I doing now? What's going on? I already died? What? It's that same cycle. It's like you keep fighting forward, you finally beat that level, and you got a bonfire, and now you're at the next set of rings.
So would you say it's the Dark Souls of superhero games?
Dark Souls is a masterpiece, I wouldn't say that, but no, it's that mentality. Like, I'm saying the game is so hard, and it actually checkpoints you pretty fairly enough. Like, if you get to that next point, you are there.
I was lucky enough to have played this, I'm gonna date myself again, in a Blockbuster.
Heck
and
yeah.
They actually put that in one of the kiosks.
They put it in one of their kiosks to play, and I was like, what is this?
This game had a very troubled development. Awful. It was crapped out really quickly, so it was terrible. So no, don't play it. It's awful. But if you really love really hard games, and for some reason you think that you need to fly with tank controls, and your camera doesn't always stay behind you, play it. It's so hard.
Isn't there a speedrunning community around this game?
If there is, that's amazing.
Good
Fair
for them.
But that's probably why. You know, I'm telling you, that is probably the drive to play the game.
That's fair.
It is so hard that it actually spins around, like it's so terrible that it becomes its own challenge of trying to beat it. It's great.
Very good. My number 4. All right, so for anyone in our generation, Harry Potter was a very big deal.
You could say that.
I grew up with that kid. I was 17 when the last book came out.
I think we all did, whether we wanted to or not.
And, I wanted it. I love those books.
I couldn't get away from it. My parents were trying to shove it down my throat. They kept buying me games for it just to entice me to read the books. And then when I did, I was bored.
Well, funny you should mention about video games of based on Harry Potter.
I think I've played like 3.
So, my 4th least favorite game is Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Okay, you gotta specify which, because like I said, I played a bunch. They released on everything imaginable. EA, I think, making these 2.
Like, I played it on Xbox.
I played it on GameCube.
So you're talking a GameCube Goblet of Fire?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all right. This is way later than most of the ones I played. So explain how is that so bad?
Okay, so this mainly came down to personal preference and just me like not jiving with it. So you play as Harry Potter, as you would expect. However, that's not enough for EA and this video game. You also play as Ron and Hermione all at the same time.
Yeah.
And you're all trying to solve the levels puzzles, fight the bad guys, and try to wrangle all 3 characters to do what you want them to do in your video game where you just want the power fantasy of being a school wizard.
So it's 3D Four Swords Adventures, but it doesn't work.
Basically. In my opinion, yeah.
Oh,
this is... Okay, you want to know how much I actually didn't like this? Even though it's like number 4 on my list, I actually traded this game in. I've kept almost every other single video game in my library except for this one.
I got rid of games I loved, and I regret it so hard.
Some of my games were just taken from me by my parents and brother and sister.
You're opening wounds here, Zach. Please continue.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Anyway.
You had the luxury of deciding whether you got to keep your
I
stuff.
needed more money to buy more games.
My brother needed more money to buy more games, so we stole mine and took them to GameStop. What am I supposed to say to GameStop then?
So anyway, about Harry Potter.
Anyway, Harry Potter. Was anybody else disappointed that movie was, like, not at all representing the book?
No, it doesn't.
That was the only one I read the book first, and then I watched the movie and I was like, that was terrible.
Yeah, same.
There are parts of the movie I really did enjoy, and, like, especially towards the ending, I really did like it a lot, but no, that movie is so far off base.
I might not have played the Goblet of Fire one. I might have played the
Prisoner of
Azkaban.
Okay.
Yeah.
I played a Chamber of Secrets.
No, it was Chamber of Secrets. It was Chamber of Secrets.
Well, I played Game Boy Advance. The Game Boy Advance one is awful.
Well, I think all those Harry Potter games are all the same.
It's terrible.
I played the first 2 Harry Potter games on the PS1, and I played the first 2 Harry Potter games on Game Boy Color. Nothing at all alike in any regards. But the nice stuff actually is the multiplayer aspect, the thing I'm actually hating on.
Like, so, 2 players could do this?
3 players could actually play this.
Oh, that changes things.
Yeah, therein lies the rub for me.
It's still bad Four Swords Adventures then.
Yeah. Because the game will not let you play by yourself. The game is built specifically around you controlling all of them, even if you're playing by yourself.
Okay.
So if you actually have 2 other friends, get together, each one controls each of the big 3 characters.
It's built for that, then.
Yes.
So, as opposed to, I keep comparing it to Four Swords Adventures, but I can't think of anything else where you play as a party that you can split up and you're in charge of all of them to solve puzzles and move around it and fight. But in that one, it was designed for both multiplayer and single player, where you can unite everybody, make them take formations. So this, people were just getting killed because of puzzles, or it just took an eternity to do anything?
Yeah, so the AI was dumb, for lack of a better term.
Oh no, they had AI? Oh, yes. No.
So they tried to build it around single player.
Oh, no.
But it was just as easy just to switch to the other character and get them to do what you want, then switch back to the other character who you want to do the next part of the puzzle.
Did you beat this game?
Nope. I think I only got to like level 2 or 3 before I'm like, I don't like this. I'm just going to put this away for right now and just go back to Sonic Adventure. I was the target audience for Harry Potter, and even I was like, no. So, but
it was me.
It was me, and I was like, I don't want this.
So the multiplayer experience is what makes that game worth it. So
yeah, I actually watched people play the multiplayer, and like they're talking to each other, trying to figure out the puzzles, and in that regard, yeah, the game I think was multiplayer first, and then they just tacked on the single player aspect.
Sounds like it.
But that's number 4 for me. What about you, Kimothy?
I just had a few more comments because of the Harry Potter thing.
Man, like, you cannot bring up J.K. Rowling.
Well, it's just because you mentioned it. Now I'm remembering. I think I played the Chamber of Secrets one for the Xbox.
Oh, okay.
And it was a multiplayer one, I think, as well, or at least 2 players. So me and my best friend growing up, we were playing it. And we loved it and beat it so much. And I don't think it had anything to do with the game actually being good. I think it was just us being slap happy and playing the game. Yeah. We started that game over in Spanish. which made it even funnier.
Well, if you know what you're doing, then any game.
Hola, profesora. ¿Dónde está la biblioteca?
Also, I had another comment backing up. I did look it up. Critical Depth came out before Rogue Trip did.
I'm
a little bummed about that. So my number 4, I would assume people actually liked at some point, but I
would
want
like to
point
think
out
that there is somebody out there who likes every game we're going to talk about.
Well,
tonight.
I was going to say, what's the phrase? Every single game is somebody's favorite game.
Well, I mean,
I don't know
think
about
every
that.
single franchise is somebody's favorite franchise.
Yes,
what
that's
I think.
much easier to do. Yeah.
You gotta understand, I played port of this game, and it's the port I'm bashing on. Okay. So my number 4 is Kingdom Hearts Chain of Memories.
Rechain.
The
That's
PS2
because
version.
you didn't even play the Game Boy Advance one.
So
I wonder if that would be here instead.
I love the first Kingdom Hearts so much for the PS1 or PS2. I'm sorry. And so I was like, okay, we're waiting forever for 2 to come out. Let me. Yeah, and then I saw that, Chain of Memories had come out on the PSP?
Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy
Advance. Well, good thing you actually thought to do that. Most players didn't and just started up Kingdom Hearts 2 and were like, who's Roxas? What's going on? Why is Sora locked away in a thing? I thought we were gonna. What was the thing with the letter to Mickey?
We were walking down the lane and Pluto was there. Where did he go?
What's going on?
I at least had the foresight to think, let me bridge these 2 games together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I assumed they didn't matter. It was a spin-off. That's what every other franchise does.
Okay, well, you also gotta understand, when it comes to me and Kingdom Hearts and being at that age, I'm like, oh, another game that has Cloud in it? Let me buy that!
Yeah.
Heck yeah. You and every other teenage girl at the time, yeah.
So, I got the game. I played through the Sora version. So, in the game, you can play either Riku's story or Sora's story.
Right.
Yes.
And
I think everybody played Sora first and then played the Riku story.
well, if they even got that far.
Yeah, if they chose to keep going.
I did.
So,
no, Zach, I'm so sorry.
I beat the Game Boy Advance version completely.
But see, I can see people liking the Game Boy one.
Yeah, it's not bad.
That's
the Game Boy
thing.
one is more straightforward in
There was
what it
something
is.
about, like, with it being 3D on the PS2, and it was just, like, straight rows getting to nothing. It was so straightforward. There were no side quests. So
it's a Game Boy Advance.
And the way you play the game, it's not an action game. It's you have to make a deck of cards.
I bet a commercial.
Let me try to explain this. I gotta explain it.
Yeah.
So the gimmick of this game is you get a deck of cards, and that deck of cards is how you fight. So each single card is a different action.
Yeah.
Or a summon, or
Fire,
an item,
heal,
magic, anything like that. So you have to continuously edit your deck, playing throughout the game.
Winning is kind of up to luck.
Exactly. So
I did it. I was
that's
lucky
my
enough.
biggest thing. I got through I got through Sora's story, and I was like, I think I might have booted Riku's side, and I was like, I can't do this. I can't. Even with Cloud in my deck the entire time, I could not do this.
Well, what does that matter? It's just a PNG file that pops up. Like, you gotta felt lied to.
Not in the PS2 version. So in the PS2 version, he would actually appear.
Okay.
You summon him.
I know the GBA one pretty well. I don't really know the PS2 one.
So you actually do summon them like you would in the original one, but I mean, the gimmick idea was just dumb to begin with. So that's definitely like my least favorite part.
It was a stupid idea.
I am stuck using these specific cards in this specific order in this deck, and it's a very linear thing, and the story was just so bland.
Yep.
Yep.
But
it used like all the same worlds as the last game, and like you go into a Kingdom Hearts expecting to do more Disney stuff.
But that's Hope for 2, which wasn't enough either.
The same stories in the same places.
So terrible. So
yeah, that's a general Kingdom Hearts problem, but you were kind of getting all of it at once.
Yeah. So I guess my biggest thing about this game was I was very excited that it got ported to the PS2, because for people like me who couldn't afford a handheld console and home console, and like handheld consoles to me were so out of grasp, like I felt like they cost like way more than the home consoles. What are you talking about?
I was just playing your Game Gear downstairs.
That you have to have plugged into an outlet, because I can't even get the batteries.
Yeah, wasn't it like 2D batteries or something like that too? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So,
that chonker.
That was my thing. So for the Game Boy Advance one, I'm like, I think the art looks great.
Well,
I like
sprite
the
art is
sprite art. It
very
looks
nice.
beautiful. The colors are great. So you don't get that in the PS2. It's very watered down. Your 3D models.
Yeah, could make some nice parlors, I bet, too.
So yeah, my positive thing is I'm happy that it got ported so that way I could at least experience the story before going to the second one. So I like that it was accessible for people who couldn't afford to get a...
That is fair, yeah, because it's also, that was a Nintendo PlayStation thing, and back then, console wars were way stronger than they are now. Anymore, if you like video games, you're probably just buying anything that plays the games you want to play.
Right.
And it's not like, oh, you gotta be Team Nintendo, and why would you have a PS2 in your house if you're playing on GameCube?
I just thought it was ridiculous to think I have the game on PS2 and you expected me to play a sequel on a Game Boy Advance.
Yeah.
So that was
my
positive about it.
It was all about money. They were trying to reach a different audience, get people into it. Not the way to do it, but yeah, they did.
So that was really my positive thing. Was happy ending. I traded it into GameSwap, which was a local gaming store at a time, and I got a Saris Angel for MTG instead.
An old one. Not
an old one.
An old at the time, so it's very old. Yeah, it looks nice. Yeah, it's a very old, nice.
I was very happy with that trade-in.
Yeah.
That's fair.
I love old Magic cards. Man, I love old Magic cards. Anyway, so number 3. Man, I was so pumped to play this video game for so long.
Yeah.
I was so excited. And then, one day, while I had the PlayStation Plus active, it shows up as the free game to download. Kim, I'm like, Kim, we gotta play this together. I gotta see Shadow of the Colossus. We boot that bad boy, and my God, it was one of the worst abominations I've ever played in my entire life.
I'm gonna try very hard not to defend it today. Go ahead on your rant.
The gameplay... Okay, now, I reviewed it, so you can check out the review of...
The physics remind me of Goat Simulator, but without it being funny.
Yes, and I think I even said that in my review. Because it actually plays... Now, to be fair, I never played the PS2 original, and I want to. And I'm not just saying that. Nobody wants to hate a game.
No.
You know, especially one that other people really like. Like, I want to know what I'm missing. You know, so I played the entirety of the game, okay? I beat it. It was so freaking bad. It was so bland, so empty. The story was just horrible. The graphics were awful, even for the remaster. The controls were undescribably terrible. So we're going up the ladder of like absolute worst things I've ever played in my entire life. And if you'd asked me a couple years ago, I would have said this is #1 the worst game I've ever played.
This is the first game on your list that you've actually beaten so far.
And you know what? I've beaten the rest of my list.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah.
And they're worse than the ones that you
And
didn't
they're worse.
beat.
I commit, though. I commit to stuff I hate.
I commit.
So, because I wanted to enjoy it, and the thing is, that game never got better. It even started redoing the same Colossus I've already fought.
I couldn't watch you play it anymore.
Yeah, the few bits of text you do get, weren't edited. The grammar's all messed up. It's like, the font's like frickin' papyrus or something. It's like, it really... The only way this game looked like it would have been impressive if one guy did it in his basement in a week. That was, the only way I could stomach it, and of course that's not true. It was made by Blue Point! The remake. So, I don't understand at all, and I had to say something nice about this absolute disaster.
This is the moment you've been waiting for, Zach.
I know.
Okay, so...
Lay it on me.
This game has wonderful scale. If there's one thing that this game does right, and I think there is only one thing that this game does right... Okay, I'm not going to make this backhanded, I'm sorry. It makes you feel very small. You have to fight, sometimes, giant monsters, and you approach these things, and the effective moment of this that actually works, when everything else doesn't, is... How on earth am I going to stop that thing? And that is the fun part. The execution, horrible. Absolute train wreck from that moment on because the gameplay is abysmal. Sometimes you're like, I already fought that one. It's this again? Or like, oh my god, I gotta do this. Oh, this is terrible. These controls are awful. I'm flopping around. I'm ragdolling everywhere. This game... I'm sorry. I hate this game. Beyond words. But it's my #3, and the scale is very nice. And the most memorable moments to me were when I felt super tiny. And even though the camera was swinging off with a mind of its own, and I couldn't see where I was driving on my stupid horse that had also a mind of its own. Okay, I reviewed it. You could listen
You said your nice thing.
I said my nice thing. The scale is very nice. And that's something that I think the PS2 would also do even better, because on the PS2, the scale in large environments, you don't really get. Like, it tries to entrap you in smaller things, because then it can make up the detail, you know? So, like, you do that on PS4, you kind of lose that effect, so I'm trying to think, like, as a PS2 game, that's what sells this.
For my number 3, do you guys know clicker games or idle games? Played any of those?
What do you mean?
Like cookie clicker, like something where, like, you could leave it running in the background and numbers go up. Kind of ordeal.
No.
Like on the phone
like a
apps?
PC or
like phone, PC, anything.
Yeah.
What's the object of the game?
Like I used to play a really silly game called Meow Meow Acres, where I just tell it to go do a thing, and then it makes the things, and then...
Oh, you just mean the little timers. You click on something and it starts timing you, and you wait?
Basically, yeah. Yeah, like cookie clicker, where it's like the whole point is like you're trying to make a bakery, the best bakery in the world.
Oh, I think I've heard of this.
And you start out by just clicking on the cookie to get cookies, and you spend the cookies
remember the
to make more cookies.
Alex, the little kitty cat.
Yes, I remember.
Yeah.
There's no more
I'm talking about what he's talking about. I remember that game.
There was a time in my life where I was really hooked on these idle or incremental games.
It's an addictive thing. It's a psychological trick.
Because
like, the game isn't enjoyable. It's intentionally designed to make you think about it. And if it makes that habit, it becomes something that's like stuck in your brain. You're always doing it.
There really isn't an end goal. The end goal is just get big number and make big number bigger, then make bigger number bigger. That's it. So there was one during that time that I found on Steam, and I'm like, you know what? I'll give this a shot. Why not?
On Steam?
On Steam? You actually did it on your PC?
I did. I put my poor PC through it.
Oh my God.
Maybe that's why it's throwing up. Oh yeah, we can't find your OS things anymore. But it's called Adventure Capitalist. So the whole point is like your character looks like a dude from like the 1920s ideal of a capitalist, man with a top hat, a suit, and a monocle and all that. And you start out with a lemonade stand. And so eventually you go from like a lemonade stand to having like a food truck. And then from that, you like kind of progress up and up until you get like mega corporations.
Yeah.
And you're just earning as much money as you possibly can get. So the one thing that incremental games do, if they're good, like Cookie Clicker actually do well, is that it makes it feel like progress is coming fast and you're actually making a dent into the game and getting what you want.
Yeah.
Adventure Capitalist does not do that. It doesn't even do the thing it's supposed to do well. Because it's a mechanism for pushing you into the microtransaction store.
Oh, no.
Uh-huh. Do you want the more money so you can get more, like, some more airports or big
It's a time saver game with no goal?
Yep.
Oh my God, Zach, you delve into the worst of the worst. Why did you even try this?
Like I said, it was at a time in my life where I was just trying out every single incremental game.
It was a low point. It was a very
was it free to play?
It is.
I could see that being like an easy in, back then.
Because I was playing Cookie Clicker, I was playing Clicker Hero, I was playing Adventure Capitalist, and a whole bunch of other ones I had never heard of before because they were free on Steam, and I'm like, screw it, let's try it.
Damn. What's the nice thing, though?
So the nice thing is, I like the theming because it's so different from like a lot of the other...
Like the cozier kind of feeling one?
Yeah, because it's like a supposed... Okay.
Capitalist is the antonym of cozy.
That's it. That's
because
what he's saying. Because it starts out, oh yeah, cool. It starts
a cute
out
little
like
kid selling lemonade to, like, I am Jeff Bezos and I now dominate the world.
Exactly, but it also doesn't practice what it preaches and
There's
makes
no
you want
actual
to
goal.
Yeah, and it doesn't actually. It forces you to go to the microtransaction store to get boosts and extra clickers to get more money and stuff.
But you like the idea of it and the theming.
It could actually be a really interesting incremental game, and there are interesting incremental games that have a goal. One of my favorites being a dark room, a dark place, where you start out in a dark room, and the only option you have to you is light fire. And then you light a fire, and then you need wood, go collect wood. And it just opens up in layers and layers, because then people start coming to you, seeing the fire, and it turns out you're not just alone in a room by yourself with all these people, it's a post-apocalypse, where everything is ash, and dying, and so you're actually creating a community.
Discovering the world too.
Yes, and there's an actual goal of survival in that game. So but this game doesn't do that.
Nothing to do with what we're talking about.
Right? No, Adventure Capitalist sucks. Don't play it.
Okay. Anyway,
yeah.
We're gonna go to a console where I think has some prime horrible real estate.
Some choice real estate, you would say?
Yes. I'm going back to the Sega Genesis.
Oh heck yeah.
So. There was a game. You could probably imagine my family was big into comics, and as like you may have heard Alex mention, my father collected a lot of Garfield comics, and I would typically read Garfield on the Sunday
I was thinking
papers.
Comic Zone, like, man, that game's hard, but it's not bad.
So,
no, I know what she's talking about.
It's a Sega Genesis game called Garfield Caught in the Act.
Oh, no.
It is so hard. I also had no idea what I was doing. What do I click on? I think I booted this game up 4 or 5 times and was unable to leave the first area.
It's one of those unfair challenges that's like, it's just there to
They don't tell me the rules. They don't tell you the rules of the game.
And the manual is not that big a help if I'm thinking correct.
No, it was awful. Just the nightmare, infuriating game because all I wanted to do was get to the next level. I couldn't.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that some of these licensed games actually get published and they're finished, and God, that's clearly that modern problem of investors saying, no, publish now, it's gotta ship, I want my money.
I distinctly remember the cover of this game. It's like ingrained in my head, and it's like Garfield looking in like a TV. Positives about this game, it has really nicely translated comic art to pixels. So like there's a little cutscene in the beginning of like each Jim Davis drawn frame, but it's in pixel art, and it was pretty nicely done.
And from what I remember, it actually doesn't look that bad when it's in motion, too.
Yeah, it wasn't that terrible looking in motion.
But you can't get out of the first screen.
But you can't play
it! God, you're just reminding me of... this actually did show up in my licensed game. I talked about another Garfield game. It was on Game Boy Advance, Garfield The Search for Pookie. I was so into Garfield, I actually sought this game out. The problem is I didn't know anything about the game itself. I couldn't find anything online about it. I found out that it existed.
You want a Garfield game? You like Garfield.
I like Garfield. I just wanted to find something about Garfield. And oh my god, it was like a Flash game, but worse. Like, the animations were, like, just terrible. Like, one frame, they just, like, start doing something different. The sound effects were all just, like, stock things. None of them made sense. Oh my god, it was a disaster. But hey, while we're talking about Garfield and we're transitioning, I can grab. I have him right here. He's been in my room for years. This is my hipster Garfield. If you're watching, he's got aviators and a Chris Angel mind-free cat.
Wondering if this has been brought up on stream before.
You're incented for watching the video. So we need to preface something.
Yes, go ahead.
It takes a real kind of special level of bad game to be ranked number 2 on a worst games ever list. Because you're not the worst at the worst.
You're a bland bad.
You're so bad at being bad.
You're not even as bad as the worst bad. Like, you might as well just went all the way.
The phrase,
this didn't go all the way.
The phrase number 1 is the best, but number 2 tries harder doesn't even apply in this case.
So, my number 2, I played this so long ago. And oh my god, I don't remember anything about my life at this time period nearly as much as I remember this game, because it was seared into my memory.
What's this game?
This game is a point-and-click adventure game that nobody on this freaking planet has played other than me.
That's right.
And it is called Next Life. This is one of my original Ocarina Hero reviews. Now, typically what the theme, the character, the joke of what Ocarina Hero reviews was I was doing, like, a character where I would play what were retro video games at the time, and misinterpreting everything that I'm playing, like pretending I didn't have the manual. I knew most of the jokes, like I know what this is, but I'm gonna pretend I don't, because that was the sake of the joke of the character. I had to completely forego like all of that and somehow try and just communicate to people. I just played one of the worst video games I've ever played in my entire life, and I have to tell you,
I did watch some of a Let's Play of this game, and I can totally see where you're coming from.
You know what? I'm honestly, I don't know why I was thinking you were going to say The Conduit for some reason.
The Conduit is bad, but it's not even close to this level bad. Conduit's that is a bland bad. That's a bland bad. It's like if you went to Metal Gear Solid and sucked out all of its character, you're kind of left with the Conduit, and also make it a first-person shooter. Like and add some aliens.
Okay, well,
it's super
what's your good thing about?
Well, I didn't even tell you like what kind of game this is. So in Next Life, point-and-click adventure. You can think like Secret of Monkey Island, except. And you know, I'll get to my nice things. I'll get to my nice thing first.
Pajama Sand.
The graphics for a home PC console point-and-click adventure at the time, they're really nice.
Yeah.
The graphics, it goes for realism, and it looks very good for the PC. It takes, I think, like 3 discs to actually like play through the whole thing.
Oh wow.
Which is not unheard of on like the PlayStation, but this is home PC console, like not a console. This is home PC. This game is huge. Those files are ginormous. But the problem is, the story is absolutely asinine. I might even fully review it on Playing With Myself. I hate it so much, and I need to, like, document how bad this is.
But, like, nobody played it, so...
Exactly! There's no internet information on this online. But, like, here, I want to explain. So, the basic premise is, you think you die in, like, a car crash, and you wake up on an island, and there's a bunch of other people on this island who seem to be from different time periods. And there's a clock tower, or like a bell tower, and a bell tower goes gong at the end of every day, and everyone passes out. And you wake up in some horrible nightmare full of puzzles that the game doesn't tell you how to do. No instructions, just like puzzles appear on screen. You have to figure out how to do them. And then you have to escape room your way out of the nightmare and eventually do more puzzles, and you wake up on the island again, where eventually you inevitably pass out. So the goal is to get into that bell tower, and to do it... I'm just going to tell you one thing, one part of this game, okay? Just so you know how monotonous this is and how asinine the whole damn game is. You look at this huge wall of greenery, and you know that you transitioned from the beach towards the bell tower, but you have no indication of what direction anything is. You don't know where you came from. So you start clicking wildly because the pointer in a good point-and-click adventure game will change its icon to let you know when you're hovering over something that's interactable. This game does not do that. So you have to pixel hunt absolutely everywhere. And what is on this wall are rocks. Specific rocks that you can step on. And you have to step on them one at a time, like a stairwell. It takes like 5 minutes to move off of this screen to finally get up towards the bell tower where you realize that the door is locked, because of course it is. What do you use to open the door? You have a couple things that you found on the island so far, right? 2 things. One is a stick. You use it on the door, nothing happens. You have a rock. Use the rock on the door, nothing happens. Here's what you do. You go into your inventory, you combine items, you combine stick and rock, not to make like a hatchet or anything, to make a new item titled Stick and Rock. You use stick and rock on the door, door opens up.
But what did you physically do with stick and rock?
I have absolutely no idea.
So not only is it a navigational nightmare, but it's moon logic inventory puzzles at its finest.
It is horrible.
Okay,
and then to make matters even worse, when you are actually like thinking you're progressing and you get farther into the bell tower, you pass out and you have to go through a brand new literal nightmare. It is horrible. Like, the game is actually tormenting the player.
But what's the good thing you can say about all this?
The good thing, and I got to it first, the home PC graphics are actually really impressive.
Okay.
Now, like, the voice acting is horrendous.
Oh, yeah.
The subtitles that come up for what people are saying, and their accents are thick, because they're all from different time periods and from different places around the world. You have no idea what they're saying if you're listening to them. It's really hard to understand. And then what they're saying on the bottom doesn't match up, so you keep getting confused. Oh my god, the whole game start to finish is a nightmare.
But it looks beautiful.
I wouldn't say beautiful, but I'm saying for what it's trying to do, it's going for realism. And it is accomplishing that.
Okay.
Pretty well.
Okay.
That's all I can say. Everything else was horrible. I'm going to turn on a light while Zach moves on to his number 2.
All right, number 2.
Drop your number 2 on us.
Drop your number 2 on us. Number 2, again, I just kind of realized that these two are right. I don't really hate a whole lot of games. Because usually I can find something I can usually latch onto to really just be like, yeah, I can get behind this. This is fine. This actually is really good. Not so much with this one. This version in particular being Half-Life Source. You both know how much I love Half-Life.
I was so shocked to hear you put a Half-Life anything on your list, but I haven't played Half-Life Source. What could possibly go wrong?
You added the Source engine to make a game that was based on the Quake engine, and it does not translate. Physics are changed. It actually tries to use the Havoc engine to like handle ragdolling and like various objects when you push and pull stuff, because one of the core gameplay elements is pushing boxes around to get to a higher location to move forward into the Black Mesa facility.
This still, in theory, isn't like a terrible idea out of the get-go, though. I mean, like, think like Witcher 1 was built with an engine that was not at all meant to make a third-person action-adventure RPG game. So, like, I could, in theory, with the right people working on it, see that maybe you could get somewhere with that.
You could think that.
I don't see the reason.
You could
think that,
but still,
it was basically there to try to test how the Source engine would work in making a Half-Life game, but they did not put, from what I understand, did not put in all the resources necessary to do it, because a lot of the game kind of gets broken. So, like, the way that certain actors in the game are supposed to work don't work at all.
Oh, no.
Physics don't work as they should, so you miss jumps.
That means you can't solve some puzzles.
You have to solve it in a janky way.
Oh, no.
And also,
This was released?
This was released. Valve themselves released it on their store.
Is it still there?
It's still there.
Oh, my God.
It's in my library. I don't want it in my library. Even if I hide the game, it's still there.
I know, yeah. I've tried getting rid of some games. Steam will not let you.
And the game at launch...
Remember that time, guys, when you played that awful game? That's what Steam's doing.
Yeah, I know.
So, it's like Facebook. What was it? Facebook Memories or something like that?
Yeah, exactly.
Facebook will never forget.
And, like... There's just a lot of things that just get broken with this game. Even at launch, the game was a buggy mess, and it's still buggy. The one thing, and there I will say that the only thing that I will give this game, it's this specific version of Half-Life that is used to make Freeman's Mind.
So that's your positive thing?
Freeman's Mind came out of this game, and that is my favorite web series probably of all time.
You know, I guess that's fair. Because I was going to say, that doesn't really...
count?
Yeah, I don't know if that counts.
It probably doesn't, but that's the best... The only other thing I could say is that the original game itself is untouched. It's still Half-Life at its core, but it wasn't changed to accommodate the Source engine and the Havoc's physics engine.
You can't always just port things and expect them to work.
Exactly.
See, these get harder and harder the deeper into our list we got. I remember staring at some of these like, I can't do this.
My next one... I thought about way longer than I probably needed to. I had to do research to figure out why I hated what was good about my number 2.
What's your number 2 then, Kim?
Well, you know how Alex was talking about that Pixar film that came out, you know, right after Toy Story, you know, A Bug's Life?
Yeah. The one about bugs.
Yeah, we're talking about Bug's Life for a second time.
Well, you see...
Oh, I thought we were talking about Ants. That went over my head.
They ported it a lot. Well, Ants is DreamWorks.
Ants is the DreamWorks.
I know, that was the joke.
The DreamWorks port.
It was.
Okay, I played A Bug's Life 64.
Ooh.
So here's the thing. Every single thing on my list has been different consoles. This one and my number 1 are both on 64. So... And people have to understand
there
my
were a lot
personal...
of hoops to jump over for the N64, so there was a lot of new things to learn. And then when you go to licensed games where you already have, like, quick turnarounds and not enough budget, that is a recipe for disaster.
And it's just all the accessories you even had to get on the 64 to play certain games. Like, I couldn't play Perfect Dark without the expansion pack.
Nope.
Right.
And that's another story, but you guys need to also understand my history with the N64. I did not play Ocarina of Time. I did not play Majora's Mask. I did not play Star Fox 64. What other big ones? I didn't play Banjo. I didn't play Mario.
GoldenEye?
Nope.
Nope, she didn't even have GoldenEye.
I played...
Did you play the N64?
I played 2 rare games.
She played the clearance games.
I played Jet Force Gemini and Perfect Dark and Hey You Pikachu. Hey, that was a fun
She did play Super Smash Brothers and Kirby.
Okay, I got Super Smash Brothers because I played that at the dentist's office and I was like, I need that game.
Oh, so this was a case that you just didn't know.
No.
Oh my god.
So like this was back in the day where I wasn't even looking at magazines for games.
That explains it. I was gonna say.
I go into a shop, like a discount shop, and I'm like, yo, I love Bug's Life. You know, it just came out or whatever.
It's Flick.
And I
wait, you willingly bought this?
I bought this.
Oh my god.
I think my dad bought it for me, something like that. So
okay.
I buy the game. And take it home, and I'm playing it for maybe like a few hours, and then decide it needs to go back.
It needs to go back in the box, and we take that.
It's not done. It's not done.
So it gets returned within the week.
Why?
Oh, because it has nothing to do with the movie
well,
at all.
What does that matter? What does that matter?
How does it control?
So yeah, it's a 3D platformer.
Oh,
like
okay.
yours was a 2D platformer, but mine's the 3D platformer, and it's got a lot of the same buggy problems.
Is it a
2D
tank
one
control?
Yes, from what I remember, you have to go around and you're collecting letters of Flick's name to get your life, and then you collect seeds and put them in the ground, and then the graphics are just atrocious. I was watching videos the other day trying to remember everything about this game and if there's any redeemable qualities about it, and it was a long stretch for me. I like even have to double check what I wrote down.
I think she spent like literal hours looking this up because I remember trying to help her and I couldn't.
So
because I didn't play it, but I was trying to, just from researching it, like, I couldn't come up with anything.
So, what I ended up writing was, it's predictable, which is good. Like, you want to buy a game and know that the controls are gonna do that thing.
What?
This is my best guess. Like, if you were to play another, like, I was playing Jet Force Gemini.
Yeah.
The A and B buttons
shooter.
Still do, like, the same thing, and the 3D
Sure.
platforming. So that's...
Oh, so you're
That
just
was
saying
my thought.
A is confirmed, B is canceled.
Correct.
Oh,
and
so
they
it's-
still do the same thing.
So it's not like Bug's Life on Game Boy Color where your jump had different...
It just
Right,
changed
it just
randomly.
did it.
Or like what I just streamed the other day, Ender Magnolia, where even on screen it says A is cancel and B is confirm. I'm like, it is 2024. Who do I gotta hit?
My other thing, because I was trying to stretch for Bug's Life, is that Flick's texture looks very nice.
Ouch.
It is very shimmery.
Oh,
but
so there's
then,
like an actual... Okay.
like it had an iridescent look
At first
to it.
that sounded
like, it
really
looked like the
backhanded,
movie.
but you mean like it actually looks good.
No, it actually did look good. But the thing is, it looked better because the exact same game was also ported to the PS1, and those graphics just look better inherently because it's a PS1 versus an N64.
So did you find that that was made first and it was dumbed down for N64?
I actually did not check that.
Because if that's the
it was all
case,
kind
that
of
would
released at the same
explain
time, I
some
think,
of that, but I could see why people would want to buy the 3D version of this, because like we were saying earlier when we were talking about Bug's Life,
It's a
that
3D
comes up.
movie. You
Yeah, it's a
wanna play it
3D
in
movie.
3D.
You want to see how it looks and plays, and of course the Game Boy Color, that's not going to do it. So moving to, the N64, you would expect it to mostly look nice.
The blades of grass in the background are giant triangles.
Yeah, that was awful. Yeah, I was surprised at how bad that game looked.
But the PS1
Imagine
isn't that bad.
An actual wall where the texture is just green triangles.
It was green triangles.
That was the wall. Yeah.
Why was that the wall and not
it
the
went,
ground?
And it went into a void.
And why did I find so many playthroughs of this game?
I don't know. It could be that morbid. Yeah, people love their N64. It could be a Superman 64 kind of thing. It might have like some weird cult following of people who love how bad it is.
That was my positive, is the controls are predictable and meet the industry standards.
At least you can pick it up and play easily, is what you're saying. Okay,
Yes.
that's a nicer way to say it.
That is what I am saying.
Okay, so it's got some nice pick up and play.
Even though it's so damn boring.
So that you know that you can put it down and stop sooner.
It went back to the store.
In a week, yeah.
Yeah. Alright, so number one time.
Number one time.
Oh boy.
I can't believe this.
You made a video on it, so you don't even need to go into
I
detail.
did. I streamed this whole game. My blind playthrough of this whole game. And then I reviewed this whole game. And I made a montage of this whole game. Metal Gear Rising Revengeance is somehow beyond words. It is aspiring to be the worst, and it is even worse than that. It is looking for the bottom line of how bad you can possibly make a game, and it overshoots so far that it's a wonder that this game was published.
But Alex, memes.
No!
It's not
Shut
Metal
up.
Gear Survive.
It's not even funny. Ever. It's insulting. The fact that, okay, so here, I mentioned this before, that I'm looking at, like, this is a singular game, and, like, ignoring the fact that this game is taking everything that was the Metal Gear legacy, one of the longest running video game legacies in the entire medium, and it is just smothering, it is drowning it, taking a dump on it, and drowning it in its own septic tank. This game has so little respect for its own franchise. The story is abysmal. horrendous. It's told like it is written by, I'm gonna say, a grade schooler level of like humor and trying to just make fun of itself.
I was trying to establish you've done a video explaining all of the wonders of this
and then
game.
it plays so badly. It doesn't function. Watch the review for the reasons why. It is an absolute train wreck. And I can't believe that the Metal Gear IP was actually permitted to be printed on this and it wasn't pulled. The fact that Platinum Games did not get burned down after how bad this game was, I don't understand. But for some people out there might enjoy, I can't even say like the worst kind of like B-movie terrible. Oh, Zach.
Well, Platinum Games does like the B-movie terrible. We've seen that in their other games.
But it's worse. Kim, you haven't even seen this game yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to avoid it. All I know is riding in a sombrero.
It's so much worse than you can possibly imagine. It's indescribably terrible.
What is good about it?
And that's the thing. There's nothing good about it. Like,
I was gonna say, does it end?
This game actually like is so bad. I wanted to destroy my physical disc, and I was playing it on Steam. It's so terrible. But no. So, even though it doesn't function, this is gonna sound backhanded, but this is the best I got here. So, the game has a good idea. It just doesn't do it well. The idea is when you are fighting, I didn't even mention, this is a hack and slash game. It's a Platinum Games thing.
Right. Do they make anything else?
But Platinum Games, this other stuff like actually works. Like Wonderful 101 works. You know, Bayonetta works. Like their storytelling, sure, it's goofy, but it's fine.
Astral Chain.
Yeah, Astral Chain's good. Like what happened here? Like this is a disaster of a game.
But what's the good thing about Revengeance?
The good idea that it has. The good idea.
I'm
gonna be clear. Yeah, this doesn't function. The good idea is that each enemy that you run into has some like blue spine thing on the inside of them. And if you regularly play the game and just like hack and slash through everyone, inevitably you're going to be taking hits. The game is very hard. You're going to be getting, smacked around constantly. There is no dodge button, so you're going to be getting destroyed from all angles. And your incentive now, since there is this blue thing on the inside of enemies, if you go into blade mode and properly chop them up when they start glowing, but they had to stop you somehow from doing this, even though it's the same sword that's doing the blade mode cuts as opposed to the damage cuts, and that doesn't make any sense. But whatever, you start slicing off limbs and stuff, trying to showcase that was the new physics thing. That was actually what sold the game, if you remember this game coming out. It was all about the fact that you could like slice things in any direction, which is pretty cool. That's another bonus. Hey, there you go. I'm giving you 2, okay? I'm giving you 2! But when you go to use this execution thing, your incentive is to try and preserve that blue spine, not cut through that part, but expose an opening so you can get inside, grab it, and smash it, and it gets you a full heal. So then you can, like, full cycle keep fighting and try and fight for your health back again. That idea is great. However, it doesn't function. Sometimes you'll cut the thing and it'll just like fall on the ground, and usually that's fine. You can walk over, touch it, and you get healed. Other times, and I have this on camera, you can walk over to it and nothing happens. And you're about to die. Like, right, you're gonna die. Touch the thing. Nope, okay, fine. Other times you'll slice off the exact part that it wants perfectly. I actually had a guy who was just a torso. No arms, no legs, just laying there. I'm like, right in. We're gonna die, and I did, because he didn't feel like doing it. Like, this game, it is a janky mess. It takes a crap on the entire franchise. It actually is the worst video game I've ever played in my life, and it took me a while to accept that, because, like, I've played so much. I've been playing games for so long. But yeah, that's the absolute worst game I've ever played in my life. Zach, number 1.
Alright, so I guess it's my turn.
Worst game you've ever played in your life.
Like I said, this is one of the few physical games I've ever traded in my whole life. So, card games.
I like card games.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Magic the Gathering. It's okay.
Yep.
Pokemon. That's a good card game.
Wizards of the Coast, yeah. Basically the same game.
Back in the day. Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yu-Gi-Oh!
I actually really liked Yu-Gi-Oh!
Yeah, originally Yu-Gi-Oh! Was fun. After, like, the second set, it was already going downhill. But still, yeah. Original Yu-Gi-Oh!
Metal Raiders was okay.
I was trapped in that world for so long.
Yeah, your dad was way too deep into Yu-Gi-Oh! For you to escape. But, like, old Yu-Gi-Oh! was fun. When it was actually just about big monsters and mixing them and summoning them, using spells and traps and all that. And that was it.
Right. So, inevitably, for a property that gets that huge, there's probably going to be a video game adaptation, especially for something nerdy like Yu-Gi-Oh.
Sure. And not based on, like, the manga or the TV show. Actually the game.
Kind of.
It's a combination of the game and the
Just tell them the title. Kim has played this too.
Yeah. Yu-Gi-Oh! Forbidden Memories for the PlayStation 1. So, I don't like this game. It does not follow the rules of the actual game itself in real life.
But neither's the anime, so...
Right, but at least the anime is at least, you can say, like, okay, they're just going to pull the heart of the cards. No, there is no heart of the cards.
There's no text on their card.
Well, yes, and that was the thing about the TV show. They would pull a card, and some episodes, they would say, oh, it means I can do this. I'm like, but that's not what the actual card says. And then another episode later, they'll pull the same card, and something different happens.
Right, because they got to promote the new set, I guess.
Where they did reprint and change the names of stuff. Yeah. They realized how some things were too strong.
Each side starts out with 4,000 hit points, like you normally did back in
I thought it used to be 8,000.
It depends.
Or they changed it later. Yeah.
No, it was like
it was larger. I remember playing some with like 4 people.
It's kind of like the idea of the commander thing.
You could do two-headed giant, and you have 8,000. But there's a variant rule where you could play.
I had the Exodia deck, so it was really 3 against 1.
But anyway, there's a lot of extra zeros in that game.
Yeah, there's too many zeros.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen, like, in the original sets, any card that actually used the last 0.
Mahavelo.
The first set?
Yes!
What was it like 1552?
1575.
5.
Yeah.
Oh, right, it was 5s. 5s was the lowest. It could only do increments of 5s. It was a calculator game.
Yeah. Honestly, quick aside, I prefer the way Magic and Pokemon back in the day used to handle numbers. But that's not the point. You get your hand of 5, right?
Yeah.
You get your Magic and your trap cards. You can set them down, like you normally would.
You hide your little man-eater bug, put a little...
Effect cards in the real game would not have their effect in this game. So you couldn't even build up with
So
that.
my man-eater bug can't flip over and destroy one monster on the other side of the field.
Correct.
So when I flip my man-eater bug, he just
has
a man-eater 450 damage.
Yeah.
Yes.
That
also,
sucks.
when you put down the monster, you have to choose its astrological sign. Is it a sun or a Jupiter? Is it a Mercury or a Uranus? And that determines if you do extra damage against its opposite.
Basically, you're randomly guessing in this game.
Yes.
Oh my god.
You know the card polymerization that's used to actually physically combine 2 cards to get a fusion monster?
Yes.
Not in the game. You just randomly combine monsters and hope whatever it comes out is a good card.
Like the Pokemon Fusion app.
To be fair, though,
yes.
The game itself should not have had a card for polymerization. 1, it was too rare and it was never printed enough. But 2, since your hand was so small and you rarely drew cards, the fact that you even got the 2 that you needed and the thing that it also was going to fuse into, that was so rare that it should have just played with that.
And the thing that you needed to fuse them could be laid out on the field face down,
Yeah.
so it wasn't taking up space in your hand, so you
but
could draw.
the thing was,
I know, but still.
In the real game, though, you knew which 2 cards to use to summon them.
Yes, I gotcha.
Right,
Yeah.
but in this game, nope.
So then it wouldn't fuse into anything in your hand. It would just, like, turn into some other monster.
It could turn into anything.
Now, was it literally random? Would it actually change from, like, Blue Eyes Ray Dragon and it would randomly be, like, a Karibo with no ability?
Well, I don't think you could fuse anything that was 4-star and above.
That
right?
part I don't remember,
I think
but
Kim
regardless,
plays this more,
Maybe not.
but regardless, no. If the stars didn't align and it wasn't the exact card types with the exact same, with the exact astrological sign that's needed, it just gets rid of cards.
So this is just a game of insanity.
Yes.
It's just testing
You
how...
can't beat it.
And
it's
the
very
game
difficult.
cheats.
No!
The game will just pull the card it needs and trounce you.
Yep.
So it doesn't actually have a hand, is what you're saying. It has a deck, and it's choosing
Well,
what it wants
it
out of
makes
the
it
deck.
look like it has a hand, but it
But it
honestly
really
God
doesn't.
feels,
It picks
yeah.
wherever it wants to. It's not like, like Magic Arena where they give you a fake scenario and you got to play through that. No, this just makes up whatever it wants to do at that time.
Yeah, because like even if you're playing like against a computer and like some of the Magic games I've played, there are times where I've played like some challenge ones where clearly the AI got a terrible hand, but I can't see it, and I was able to get like an easy victory and like go like, oh wow, that worked out, and I could tell because they only got like forests that time and they needed an island.
So you know that just like in the anime, you play for star chips in order to get new cards, right?
I don't really remember the anime too much. I remember playing the game.
Well, this was like during the Pegasus tournament.
Yeah, where they're playing for star chips to get.
World.
Yeah. But when you beat your opponent in this game, they give you a piddly amount of star chips, and cards are freaking expensive. You have to grind.
Cards, not packs?
Singular cards.
Oh my god. But the cards are randomly doing different things. You're right. This is a test of insanity.
You know what? I want to bring up a good card game. The Pokemon trading card game for the Game Boy.
That game is
so good. That game is really good, yes.
And it has an underrated sequel that never got ported, and just in the past few years, fans made a translation for it, and you can play it.
Just to bring us back up into the
Team Great Rocket,
So, okay, yes, sorry. The good thing I can... Okay, both of these are going to be backhanded because I do not like this game.
You try your hardest.
Yep, try. The nice thing is you can actually take your real-life cards, take the serial number that's in the bottom corner, and put it in the game, and you can actually buy it. If you have the star chips. You don't get the card immediately. You have to use the piddly amount of star chips to get it.
But, I mean, at least then you're not waiting for a random gimmick for that card to show up.
You could try to build...
But you're still waiting to get the amount of star chips needed to get that card.
But still, in theory, you could build the deck that you actually played over at the game store with your friends.
Right, but who knows if that deck is going to work because of the way the mechanics work.
Because it's a different game.
It wants to...
And the other good thing I will say, there is actually a 3D battle animation. Each monster has their own render and their own unique attack.
That's fun.
But the art style is all over the place for each and every single monster, just like in real life.
Yu-Gi-Oh's art
style is an absolute disaster.
Oh, and also, even for PS1 standards, a lot of them don't look that good. So...
I couldn't imagine the budget was going to be that great. Yu-Gi-Oh!
Oh, Konami put some good money into it.
Really? Yu-Gi-Oh! I know Yu-Gi-Oh! Started out and it did pretty well in the beginning because it was leaning on that Pokemon card game craze.
Yeah.
But it didn't... It wasn't even close to like that level.
I'm still so confused how Yu-Gi-Oh! Got from that first manga to whatever it is now.
I don't know.
Who knows? Who knows?
Well, the original author is no longer with us, so I mean, not like we'll ever be able to figure it out.
I don't know what happened there.
I don't know. It's a mess.
You can't tell me that the original story of this kid who wanted to play with this one card from his grandpa's shop that got ripped in half by some
not even the original story.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's right. That's where the anime starts. The book was something else.
Yeah. Oh yeah, the Pharaoh is a murderous person who just will kill on any on any game, no matter what. Anyway,
random games like ancient type of games. It was
crazy. Did they play Senate? That'd be kind of funny. Anyway,
I don't remember what they
Anyway, Kim, I'm sorry I took up too much time.
They whipped out Risk and started like.
Whenever I take over this country, this many people will die.
Yes.
Like I read the first
I just took over Germany. For real.
I read the first manga after being involved in Yu-Gi-Oh! For so long. I read the first manga and I was like, I like this idea. What happened?
Yeah. Anyway, again, I apologize. I took up too much time. What's your #1 most hated game, Kim?
Okay, so...
Bug's Life is really bad, so... no.
It's a game so bad, she listed it twice.
Actually, this isn't even the N64 one. We're talking about...
The PS1
version.
Okay, so we've talked about, like... I played Sega. I liked Sega. I had a Sega. That's what I had to play. So, a pretty big staple for the Sega is Mortal Kombat. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like, I love Mortal Kombat on Sega.
Yeah, Sonic, Zombies Ate My Neighbors, Echo the Dolphin, Mortal Kombat.
It's right up there. It's
Shining
great.
Force.
So, of course...
Yeah, don't let us go on. Gunstar Heroes, we will. I'm sorry, keep going.
Oh, so of course, when there is a Mortal Kombat coming to the N64,
heck yeah.
I have to play it, featuring one of my favorite characters, Sub-Zero, right?
Yeah, Mr. Palette Swap.
So, Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero.
Yeah, this
is what I was so excited to get this game.
Unfortunately,
because
this is famously bad too.
Yeah, I really.
She was there at ground zero.
Yeah, I know. When did you buy this?
Pretty early. Like
so it was new.
But the thing is, you gotta understand, when I was younger, I always played a console behind.
Well,
so like the GameCube was probably out at the time when I was playing the N64.
Yeah, well, that's when stuff was cheaper.
So
it still is, by the way. It's a good rule of thumb.
So, Mortal Kombat's known for its goriness and all over the place, but the fun thing about the gory is it's your opponent.
Yeah, usually.
Not you!
Usually it's your opponent.
So...
This game don't do that.
So,
no, this is like Fatal Fury.
Mortal Kombat Mythology Sub-Zero. My God, that is a long title.
You need to explain what it
I need to explain
is.
what this game actually is. So Mortal Kombat is, you know, a traditional fighting game through and through. Mythologies is a platforming, 2D platforming game.
Using the controls of
from
the
Mortal
fighting
Kombat.
Game. Yeah.
So, yeah, and you're going through like this palace or something, trying to get to
like
the
a
end.
death trap house with spikes and buzzsaws.
So
it's not
every
important.
single thing, you know, you're going through the White Palace, but you're
Yeah.
using controls from
Hollow
Mortal
Knight
Kombat.
White Palace, you mean, right? Yeah.
Right. So you're using the controls from Mortal Kombat. There's spikes everywhere. There's smashy spike plates. There's buzzsaws. And you're just trying to get to the end. And enemies. But those were the least of your concerns, because at any moment you could be smashed by a wall.
Yeah, well, because it's based on a fighting game, so you could actually play that. But like one person, punches you, and your knockback sends you careening off a cliff.
And you know, it takes you have to do so many button combo inputs to do your ice moves.
I know.
It is ridiculous.
Why did a lot of games do that? They take fighting games and turn them into something they were not.
Like Budokai Tenkaichi, do I want to talk about that?
It's
and
the reason
20 button input you have to do?
It's the reason that the only thing that probably held back the Subspace Emissary from Smash Bros. Brawl from coming back for real is that it just doesn't really mesh with it. The game was designed to play as a King of the Hill, kind of like a 2D fighting game.
Right.
And if you do that with this really is the best comparison I can make to Mortal Kombat Mythologies, actually, because it's taken the same thing and it's trying to turn it into a giant side-scrolling, multi-level
getting more in
adventure
depth
game.
with your characters.
But it plays like a fighting game.
There's a reason why they've never done this again.
Why is Subspace Emissary so much better? To be fair, though, Emissary does feel kind of janky in some spots. You can get smacked off the edge.
I feel like it's more cartoony because
it's also way more forgiving.
When you
way more
forgiving. Because when you die in this, you go to the back to the very beginning.
Yeah, and you have other characters in the backup, and usually
no, not in this. It's just Sub-Zero. You only play as Sub-Zero.
Mm-hmm.
And all the gore, blood, and guts, it's yours. It's not your enemies. Yeah. So, like, that's not fun.
And the few times that you are able to do it to your enemies, it doesn't even feel satisfying.
I don't think I got to the first end of that first level.
You buy it expecting Mortal Kombat, but instead you got Dragon's Lair.
Yeah, I would rather play Dragon's Lair.
Yeah. But what's the good thing you can at least say about this game?
They tried to
oh
make
my gosh,
something
come on,
different.
Come on.
No, okay, so my best thing was I appreciated them reaching outside of their comfort zone and trying to make a game that they were not used to.
That fairly could have evolved Mortal Kombat into an interesting direction.
There could have been more mythology ones. You could have, had Sonya's mythology or something.
Well, I think they were supposed to have, but this game tanked so hard it killed that idea dead. Yeah.
Because it definitely sounds like the title of it sounds like, oh, this is going to be a new main staple for the franchise.
I wonder how much of this game would have been fixed if instead of being up like in a fighting game, it was actually mapped to a button. Like, how much easier would it have been to try to navigate?
No, not when the plates are like this.
Yeah, I know, like, you got, like, guillotines smacking like crazy and...
Oh, and also, too, don't forget rotating platforms that try to take use of the 3D space.
Yeah, but it wasn't really a 3D platformer, because it was only 2D.
It was, like, ball and chain stuff swinging in the background, coming to the foreground.
Yeah, it's not Crash Bandicoot side-scrolling 3D
But you know what, that was the thing. I mean, I was excited to play Mortal Kombat on the next generation of systems. And so,
did you never play a Mortal Kombat game again?
Eventually, I got the Mortal Kombat collection for the PS1.
Okay.
But that was all the original Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, exactly.
That was trilogy,
I was gonna say, so from that release point on, you never touched the series again.
Not a new one, no. I only ever played 1, 2, 3, and this thing.
Yeah, that's a game that is so bad it actually
killed your interest in the franchise.
It kills your interest in games that otherwise would be great.
I mean, it might have been the movie that did that, but...
That's fair. But, that's the same with, Metal Gear Rising. Honestly, this is not that game's fault, but it makes me not want to play Bayonetta 3. That's how bad that game is. Like, it's so terrible. I don't trust Platinum, even though I played
that
things
game is so
I liked from
now.
them.
I will lend you Astral Chain to
well, that game looks phenomenal.
Astral Chain, Astral Chain, from what little I've seen, was really good. I don't understand what happened.
Who knows if Konami was trying to meddle a lot in whatever they were trying to do, too.
I really do think that, not to derail you, but to think that game was intended to target teenagers and try and be memes, like just try and get spread.
Like the Emoji Movie.
At laughing at the expense of its own history, and then on top of that, it didn't function. So, that's what happened. So Mortal Kombat sounded like, to get back to that, it sounds like that's kind of like the damage it dealt.
I don't know if I got rid of that game. That game might be sitting in the basement right now.
Oh my gosh, can we go play it?
I don't know. I am not doing
that.
I probably did sell it because it was just like, it was at that time in my life where I was just, I had get rid of the game because I wanted a new game. If you could have traded it,
yeah, for like Jet Force Gemini or Perfect Dark, do it, yeah.
Well, I had all those first. This was like one of the last ones I think I had purchased.
Oh man, you could have been playing Killer Instinct on the N64.
You know what? I played.
She could have played Mario 64. She didn't even get to play.
I would have loved that game.
She didn't get to play Banjo. Ocarina of Time. You would have loved that game.
Oh yeah, I would have loved that game.
There's so many games.
I don't doubt it.
But yeah. Anyway, so now that we've finally reached the end of this, Kim, I will let you have your mini rant. But hold on. First, I want to mention, Zach and I at least, we had the thought that, you know, I think we talk too much. We probably shouldn't do the second half of this theme, which was give a list of your favorite games ever and complain about them. Yeah. Which you'd be surprised might actually be harder than complimenting the worst.
Again,
I found that easier.
Again, you're like
harder.
You're the food critic from Ratatouille. Yeah, no, we get it.
I am so smitten with my top 5 that like I cannot see faults.
No wrong.
Yeah, so look forward to that eventually coming up in another episode.
Look forward to Alex complaining about Super Metroid.
It will happen. You think that wasn't on my list? Oh, you silly little goofballs! No. So Kim, you have the rest.
I have a list. Okay, because I was having such a hard time making my top 25 favorite video games.
Yeah.
I found it so much easier to make my top 25 worst games that I've ever played.
I don't know why I didn't think to do that.
But Spite is a very powerful thing, I guess.
But you know what, though? I will not include the top... One of these I'm actually playing right now on my phone. Mm-hmm. But I will not include...
Oh my god, you are.
I will not include the top 5 that I've already listed are on this list. Obviously. So, you know, so it's only going to be a list of 20. Mm-hmm. FF7-10-2.
Ouch.
Or, I'm sorry, FF10-2. Why did I say 7?
Yeah, FF7-10.
FF7.
Which 7 Square sees that as like their own series anymore, not Final Fantasy.
Okay, Final Fantasy 10-2, where Yuna is a pop star.
Yeah.
That bothers me too.
Star Ocean until the end of time.
I get that. I totally get that.
Final Fantasy 8.
I totally get that.
Ouch.
Ni no Kuni.
Yeah.
That one I don't get as much, but okay.
Pikmin Bloom.
Yes.
That game makes me so sad.
Pokepark for the Wii.
Yeah, that was terrible.
Monster Hunter Stories.
Yeah, that was bad.
People are gonna hate me for this one.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was bad.
Pokemon Legends Arceus.
Ouch! Well, it's the best Pokemon game in years, and I can still see what you mean.
Life is Strange 2.
Yeah, that game sucked. Like that.
Really, that's surprising because I thought that would have been
Life
a
is
home
Strange
run.
1.
Yeah.
That game is great.
I thought that would have been a home run for you guys. Okay.
I thought so too. No, we played it and we were like, oh my god, I can't believe this game is so terrible.
Don't not drop the ball on that. That's a shame.
Big time. Yeah.
Smite.
I played Smite. That game sucks. Yeah.
Other MMOs, Gaia Online. If anybody's ever played that, it is buggy and crashes constantly. Candy Crush.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Omnimusha 2, mainly because of the camera.
Yeah, I mean, cameras can ruin a game. You know, like I would say, like if you can somehow program and fix the camera in Monster Hunter on PS2, that game's a home run.
I don't know if this should have been on here or not, but I put Digimon Hacker's Memory.
Why?
Because remember, I booted it up
and
I kept getting bored, and I had to go through so many menus to get to what I needed to get to. Yeah. It was driving me crazy.
It is the chaffiest game that's ever chaffed, isn't it?
And then Digimon, what is it? Rumble?
Yeah,
Rumble Arena 2?
The sky is yellow
Digimon
right now.
Rumble Arena 2. The Lost World Jurassic Park on the Sega Genesis.
Yeah, Zach and I tried to justify that one and play it, and no.
It's bad.
No, it's just a bad game.
Just play Rampage Edition.
People are really going to hate me for this one. Kingdom Hearts 2?
Yeah.
I didn't
That
that
one
game.
I don't get, but that's
and you're gonna hurt me for this one too. Stardew Valley.
I get no,
No,
I do get it.
Stardew Valley.
I do get that one.
I do like that game.
Gundam Zeonic Front.
Don't know nothing about it.
Oh my god, is that the strategy
That's
one
the
where you play as
strategy
Zaku?
one
Oh my
that I tried to get you to play because I couldn't beat it. And I was like, what am I doing?
Hard. So imagine a tactical strategy game, but you're playing as one of the mooks. And you are like looking through the vision
You have
of the
to
mook.
command all the other mooks.
Yeah, you send commands to the mooks, and you're trying to.
I don't want to be the mooks.
It is so hard.
You don't win.
No, I could not beat level 1, and I went with a strategy guide. Like,
That
first time
sounds
I played
fitting.
I
that,
have the strategy
it was
guide
so
still.
hard.
It sounds fitting that you can't win. That's
Well,
the
yeah,
point.
you're playing as a Zaku in a Gundam game.
Oh,
You're
God.
gonna die if someone sneezes on you.
And then,
yes, you do.
of course, my last one on the list is Shadow of the Colossus. So.
Yep. Yeah.
And
well,
again,
that absolutely deserves to sit there.
Yep.
Anyway, I won't say anything. We've had this conversation.
That was my
before.
list.
We have.
That was my wonderful little list.
Anyway, so that was a doozy. I'm still curious. So it's a fun thought experiment. So if you guys try and do the same thing for yourself, write a list of, you don't have to go so far above and beyond what Kim did. Just your 5, some of the worst games you've ever played. You don't even have to order them. You're in charge of your own
Do
list.
I hate video games?
No, you love video games. Otherwise, you wouldn't criticize everything.
Well,
Guys,
that
I
was kind of
played-
the whole point of like what we were talking about. If you can compliment the worst experience, usually it's because you see light in it that you have glimmered from other games.
I didn't very well.
It is tough. Some of them are a real challenge.
And
like,
you know what? I have played most of those N64 games with the steering wheel.
yeah, yeah.
And they didn't even because I had it.
I'm curious what that steering wheel does to like games that it's not intended for. Like,
It's fun.
Can you somehow like play GoldenEye with a steering wheel?
No. You're Ocarina of Time. The gas makes you go. And you just steer Link. In order to turn around, you have to hit brake and then reverse. That'd be great.
Anyway, try to come up with a list for yourself. It's a
Old
lot of fun.
gaming
Post it in the
accessories are
comments if you get a
wonderful.
chance, or seek us out on Discord and let us know what your 5 worst games ever are, and challenge yourself. Say a non-backhanded compliment, and try and say something nice about even the worst games you've ever experienced. But that is all we have for now. Thank you guys for tuning into this episode of HitBox. If you enjoy the show, you can help us keep it alive by supporting us on Patreon with the links in the show notes and this video's description. And for those of you on YouTube, remember to like the video and subscribe for more, and be sure to tune in and let us know what you hold on, I can't read, it's far away from the screen! Be sure to let us know what you thought of this show and what other topics you'd like to hear us cover in the future, and special thanks to all of our amazing Patreon members. Toodles!
Bye-bye.
See ya.
It was really hot in here.
I could make another least favorite list.
We started talking a little too soon, Zach. I hope you can splice that quick enough.
I will try my...
I'll leave it in.